The sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows over the village of Pueblo Tranquilo. The sky transformed into a canvas of deep oranges and purples, signaling the end of another day. A blood-red stain painted the sky above Pueblo Tranquilo, as if the heavens themselves were bleeding. The vibrant hues reflected off the rooftops, creating an almost surreal atmosphere. The air, still warm from the day's heat, carried a whisper of unease. A slight breeze rustled through the trees, adding to the eerie ambience that settled over the village. Children, their laughter echoing in the dusty streets moments before, vanished into their homes. The once lively village square now stood empty, a stark contrast to the bustling activity of the day. Doors closed with heavy thuds, as if sealing away the last remnants of daylight. The sound echoed through the narrow streets, a reminder of the approaching night. The old tales, whispered from generation to generation, spoke of creatures that stalked the night. Legends, some scoffed, but others believed wholeheartedly, their fear palpable in the dimly lit rooms where these stories were told. Tonight, those whispers would turn to screams. The villagers, who had once dismissed the stories as mere folklore, would come to realize the terrifying truth behind the legends. The old clock tower, its face cracked and weathered, chimed 7 times. Each chime reverberated through the village, a haunting reminder of the passage of time. Each clang resonated through the village, a metronome counting down to darkness. The sound seemed to linger in the air, amplifying the growing sense of dread. A lone dog howled, a mournful sound that sent shivers down spines. Its cry echoed through the empty streets, a harbinger of the night's impending terror. The wind picked up, rustling through the leaves of the ancient oak tree at the edge of the village. The branches swayed, casting long, eerie shadows on the ground. This tree, they said, held the secrets of the town, its roots reaching deep into the earth where ancient evil slept. The villagers avoided it at night, fearing the dark forces that lay beneath. A shadow detached itself from the darkness beneath the oak tree. It seemed to materialize out of the very essence of the night, a dark figure emerging from the twisted roots and gnarled branches. The air grew colder, and the silence was almost palpable. It moved with an unnatural fluidity, stretching and twisting in the moonlight. Then another and another. Each shadow seemed to dance with a life of its own, their movements synchronized in a macabre ballet. The moonlight cast an eerie glow, making their forms even more sinister. Soon, a dozen figures stood silhouetted against the dying light. They gathered silently, their presence a dark omen against the twilight sky. The village below remained unaware of the impending doom that loomed just beyond the horizon. Their forms, vaguely humanoid, were wrong, twisted mockeries of men. Limbs bent at unnatural angles, and their faces were void of any human emotion. They were creatures born of nightmares, each one more grotesque than the last. Claws glinted in the darkness, eyes, glowing with malevolent hunger, fixed on the village. The creature's intent was clear. They were predators, and the village was their prey. The air was thick with anticipation, a storm of terror waiting to be unleashed.
A scream, high and piercing, shattered the fragile peace. It echoed through the night, a desperate cry that sent shivers down the spine of anyone who heard it. The scream was a harbinger of the chaos that was about to unfold. A woman, her face contorted in terror, stumbled back from her window. Her eyes were wide with fear, and her hands trembled as she tried to comprehend the horror that had appeared before her. She knew that something terrible was about to happen. One of the creatures, its grin a grotesque parody of a smile, had peered inside. Its eyes locked onto hers, and for a moment, time seemed to stand still. The creature's presence was a violation, an intrusion into the sanctity of her home.
Panic seized the village. People rushed indoors, slamming doors and bolting windows. The once peaceful village was now a scene of chaos and fear. The villagers' hearts pounded in their chests as they tried to find safety. Doors slammed shut. Lights flickered out. The village was plunged into darkness, a darkness that seemed to be alive with the presence of the creatures. The only sounds were the whispers of the wind and the distant haunting cries of the villagers. The creatures, their hunger aroused, began to move, their inhuman forms melting into the shadows, only to reappear closer, always closer. They were relentless, driven by an insatiable hunger that would not be denied. The village was their hunting ground, and they would not stop until they had claimed their prey. The elders, their faces etched with generations of fear and wisdom, had prepared for this night. They had seen many such nights, where the air was thick with anticipation and dread. Their eyes, though weary, held a spark of determination, a resolve to protect their people at any cost. For centuries, the village had known moments like this. Moments when the very fabric of reality seemed to fray, and the boundaries between the known and the unknown blurred. The villagers had always been vigilant, always ready to face the darkness that lurked just beyond the edge of their understanding. Times when the veil between worlds thinned, and the creatures of nightmare walked among them. These were not mere stories told to frighten children, but real threats that had haunted their ancestors, and now threatened them once more. Hidden beneath the homes, accessible only through concealed trapdoors, lay a network of tunnels. These tunnels, carved out by hands long gone, were a testament to the resilience and ingenuity of the villagers. They had created a labyrinthine refuge, a place where they could hide and survive the terrors of the night. A refuge, a sanctuary, for tonight at least. Here, in the bowels of the earth, they found a semblance of safety, a brief respite from the horrors above. But they knew it was only temporary, a fragile shield against the inevitable.
Families huddled together in the darkness, their breaths echoing in the close confines. The children clung to their parents, eyes wide with fear, while the adults whispered words of comfort and hope. The walls of the tunnel seemed to close in, amplifying every sound, every heartbeat. The air, thick with the smell of damp earth and fear, was heavy with the weight of generations past. It was as if the very ground remembered the countless nights of terror and the countless souls who had sought refuge within its embrace. They had survived before. Would they be so lucky again? The question hung in the air, unspoken but palpable. Each face reflected the same uncertainty, the same desperate hope that this night would not be their last.
The ground trembled above them, the sound of heavy footsteps and inhuman snarls filtering down through the earth. The hunt had begun. The villagers braced themselves, knowing that the true test of their courage and unity was about to unfold. In the darkness, they waited, hearts pounding, for the dawn that might never come. The creatures stalked through the deserted streets. Their laughter, a chilling cacophony, echoed off the empty houses. Doors were splintered, windows shattered. They moved with a terrifying speed, their senses keen, their hunger insatiable. Each whimper, each muffled sob was a beacon in the darkness, drawing them closer to their prey.
A young boy, separated from his family in the chaos, cowered in a darkened cellar. His heart pounded against his ribs, his breath catching in his throat. He could hear the creatures moving above, their heavy footsteps shaking the floorboards. The smell of damp earth and something else, something alien and foul, wafted down to him. He squeezed his eyes shut, praying to a god he barely believed in.
Deep beneath the earth, far below even the refuge of the tunnels, something stirred.
An ancient power, slumbering for centuries, sensed the terror above.
A low hum vibrated through the bedrock, resonating with the rhythm of the earth's heartbeat.
It began as a whisper, a faint tremor in the depths.
Then slowly it grew.
A soft blue light emanated from the heart of the village, where the ancient well lay dormant.
The well, long dry and forgotten, pulsed with a light that was both beautiful and terrifying.
It flowed outwards, seeping into the very foundations of the village, spreading through the tunnels, a beacon of hope in the suffocating darkness.
The villagers, huddled in the darkness, watched in awe and terror as the blue light spread. It touched their faces, and a sense of calm, of overwhelming peace, washed over them. The fear that had gripped them so tightly loosened its hold.
They were not alone. They had been chosen, protected. Above, the creatures sensed the shift. Their hunting cries turned to shrieks of rage and frustration. The darkness recoiled from the light, like shadows fleeing the dawn. Their time was coming to an end. This night, they would discover, was not theirs to command. The earth rumbled as a figure rose from the well, bathed in blinding blue light. It was neither man nor beast, but something in between. Its eyes blazed with ancient power, its form shifting and swirling like smoke in the wind.
The creatures, their confidence shaken for the first time, hesitated. Then with a roar of defiance they charged.
The battle raged through the village. The creatures, their claws sharp as razors, their strength inhuman, fought with the fury of cornered animals. But the Guardian, empowered by the ancient magic of the earth, was a force of nature. It moved with lightning speed, its every blow carrying the weight of 1,000 storms. As the first rays of dawn kissed the horizon, silence fell over Pueblo Tranquilo. The creatures were gone, banished back to the darkness from whence they came. The Guardian, its task complete, slowly dissolved into motes of light, sinking back into the well. The blue light faded, leaving behind a silence so profound it was almost deafening.
The villagers emerged from their sanctuary, blinking in the sunlight. Their faces, etched with exhaustion and relief, bore witness to the horrors they had endured. The village, scarred and broken, stood as a testament to their resilience. They had survived another night.
Life slowly returned to Pueblo Tranquilo. The villagers rebuilt their homes, their lives. But the memory of that night, the terror of the hunt, the awe-inspiring power of the Guardian, would forever be etched into their hearts. The whispers, once dismissive, now carried a weight of respect, of understanding.
The old legends, passed down through generations, had proven true. And as the sun dipped below the horizon each night, casting long shadows across the village square, the villagers of Pueblo Tranquilo would remember. They would remember the darkness, the fear, and the hope that bloomed in the heart of the storm. They would remember, and they would be ready, for they knew deep in their bones that the creatures would return.